Welcome to Makilala, which means get to know in Tagalog. It's the first Phil-Am TV talk show where we feature movers and shakers in the Filipino-American community in the New York metropolitan area. We are the ladies of Makilala. I am Rochelle. We have here Christina,
Hi.
Jen, and Maria. We also have here our very special guest, Mr. Ryan Letada of NextDayBetter. So thank you for joining us, Ryan.
My pleasure.
And we're going to be just casually asking you some questions, just getting to know what NextDayBetter is. So first thing is, tell us about yourself. Tell us how you got into NextDayBetter.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for just having me here. I feel like it's such an honor and a blessing just to share my story and share what I'm passionate about. And just to tell you a little bit about myself, again, I'm Ryan, co-founder of NextDayBetter, and my story really started in the banking realm. I was headed towards there in college until a professor who saw me doing a lot of social justice work told me, Ryan, follow your passion and I'll guarantee you'll change the world. Don't, or you'll forever be known as a great performer. Mm-hmm. And that really struck a chord with me because I did not want to fake the funk. I didn't want to perform. And I knew that I was put in this place to make a difference in this world. And so throughout college and after college, I started a social enterprise, co-started it called eKindling. I also now am doing NextDayBetter. And basically, just to let you know a little bit about NextDayBetter, is that it was inspired by TED, but I found TED a little bit problematic in the sense that I did not see enough Filipinos sharing how they are making a difference in this world, right. And I wanted to change that. So NextDayBetter is about spreading ideas and actions that create a better future, and we spread ideas that are Filipino flavored, that are rooted in innovation, entrepreneurship, and design. And in the past, we have speakers such as Jay Japoneta, who who created boats for students who had to swim to school, mm-hmm. to Rebecca Garcia, who started Coder Dojo New York City, mm-hmm. teaching kids how to code, etc. So
you're very involved in the Filipino community.
Mm-hmm.
Did that start as a kid? Because I have 4 children. They're like half Filipino and half Jewish, and they're very involved in community service and like in a global way. But they're not the ones who will sign up to like a Filipino event. Mm-hmm. I mean, how do you reach out, or how do you tell that kind of generation that you should come and join and be part of the group of kids or the group of the young people that help the Philippines?
Absolutely. I think that it's such a great question and something that I absolutely think about all the time, because in a sense, there are a lot of second-generation Filipino Americans, of course, throughout the U.S., and it's really, you think about it in a spectrum, right? On one side, you have those who are incredibly involved, who are activists and who want to do something for the Philippines. On the other side, you have those individuals who are not necessarily as involved and who does not want to invest in giving back to the community in that some shape or form. But you have all these tons of young people in the middle who are seeking a way to make a difference for the Philippines and for our community, but can't find a way to do that. And that's why NextDayBetter was actually really created, because we wanted to show the different ways in which Filipino Americans or people that are inspired by the Philippines are giving back to our community. So you have a person that's an artist, you have a person that's a designer. Now all these individuals are figuring out how through those different channels can we give back to the community. So yeah.
My understanding of social entrepreneurship is that it's a way for young people to get together and solve social problems in an innovative way, right? Mm-hmm. So my question is, do you see a role for the older generation in NextDayBetter, for the baby boomer types?
Absolutely. I see a role for anyone to make a difference through the social entrepreneurial route. And I think from our particular generation, and you know why this is very interesting for people, is that social enterprise, what it does is get people to think creatively how to solve the world, but also at the same time thinking about how do you make yourself financially sustainable. So you're looking at the triple bottom line of making an impact through a social enterprise. You look at social impact, environmental impact, and the impact in your pocket so that you can put food on the table so that you can make a difference. And so just to let you know, there are incredible social entrepreneurs that are out there You know, you have Reese Fernandez. She is 27 years old. She is the co-founder of Rags to Riches. And what she does is she gets these materials and upcycles them and turn them into high fashion items to be sold in stores such as like Anthropology. And in the process, she is employing hundreds of women and putting Filipino products in the map in a global sense. And she is also making this livelihood for herself and the people around her. And so I think this is a great opportunity, and it's not just a generational thing, but anyone can get involved.
Ryan, can you explain the format of the events? Like, what do people expect to hear at the events? Like, what do you do?
Absolutely. And it's something that we really think about because we want to put incredible people that are coming out of the woodworks, that are creating the future in their own meaningful and unique way. So for example, on September 14th, we have our Next Day Better event here in New York City. The following week after that, we have a Next Day Better event in LA. And we are really like pulling from different industries and showing how they make the next day better. So for example, we have Tara Abrahams, who is the Deputy Director of 10 by 10 Act. And that is the team behind Girls Rising, this documentary that has been seen around the world that is all about how do we educate girls around the world so that we really unlock their potential. So you have a person that's going to speak about that. We also have Ray Cizon, who is the art director for RGA, and he is one of the lead conceptualizer of the Nike Fuel Band. And he is going to talk about how design, fashion, and technology can intersect to make a difference in this world.
I know that guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he is absolutely amazing.
That's right.
And so these are the type of individuals that we are going to put on the stage. But something to add is that this is not just about, let me get on the stage, let me share how I'm making a difference in this world. This is about building a community. Imagine a room of incredible doers, movers, shakers, people that are going to change the world. And what do you do with a community? You activate it towards creating a better future for the Philippines and beyond. And that's what Next Day Better is about.
Is Next Day Better a nonprofit?
Next Day Better is a social enterprise. We are thinking about ways in which we have a business model that will fuel our efforts and scale it quickly, but at the same time, we also have a social impact that we want to achieve. And our social impact is putting our people on the map to show that we are that change makers, those people that are shaping the future in a global sense.
How do your parents feel about it? Because I have, as I said earlier, I have like 4 kids, and 3 of them are college, and some of them are done. And how do you go about and continue with your life and be passionate and live a purpose-driven life, but at the same time, how do you become financially stable?
Absolutely.
And how does Next Day Better for your own make you support your passion to be inspirational at the same time financially successful?
That's such a great question, and that's something that I think about all the time. It's like, just to give you a little bit of background, my family, we come from really meager backgrounds in the Philippines. I have family members who are still in the Philippines living under the poverty line. And my parents came here to give us a better future. And I honor that. I have to absolutely honor that and think about that. And so in terms of financially sustainable, that is something that my parents think about, and it's a valid concern. And for me, this is why social enterprise is such an incredible direction for me to go towards, because it marries the question of how do I become financially sustainable, and then how do I create social good or social impact? And throughout my social good businesses, that's what I think about. I think about how do I fuel my dreams of making a difference, but then also at the same time be able to provide for my family.
So now just going back to how it influences people in the Philippines, how does Next Day Better affect, or why would people in the Philippines even be interested in Next Day Better?
I think Next Day Better, so just to give you a little bit of where we are going in the future, because the innovative people in our community are people that are inspired by our community, are absolutely everywhere in the world. So let me tell you my dream. My dream is to have a Next Day Better event in LA, San Francisco, Manila, Sydney, to showcase the individuals in our community. And I think like it's what's incredibly important and why people should care is because this is about collaboration. It is going beyond the bounds of I'm Filipino, I'm doing this for the Philippines. But if you create a product or a service that is making a major difference, that will eventually trickle down to the Philippines. And so I think we are a platform for collaboration and exchanging of those ideas.
I think it's still a little conceptual for me. So are you creating a product here?
Absolutely.
You are?
Yeah.
What is it?
The product is you have Ray Season, you have Tara Abrahams
Oh, okay, that's your
on
product.
YouTube, and they are sharing their stories
Oh, okay.
of how to make the next day better, and also providing insights about how others themselves can make a difference in this world.
Okay.
So that's the product that we have.
So Ryan, as you know, Filipinos are in every industry at every level. Not everything's glamorous like, you know, arts or entertainment. I mean, myself, I'm a government girl. Rochelle over here is a nonprofit girl. So, what's the marker? What makes Filipino, like, how does your team pick these people?
Pick these speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an absolutely amazing question because that's something that we think about. I always think about whenever I'm inviting or looking for people, it's very broad. I tell them I'm looking for the most awesome individual who is really paving the way for others and making a difference. And so just having that as broad, you know, we are getting individuals who are in the fashion industry, to the tech industry, to the nonprofit, to the government, who are rethinking ways of solving social issues or creating products that are really inspiring a better world. Those are the individuals that we're looking for. That's how I define awesome, and that's how I define cool.
Those are your geniuses, big thinkers and doers.
Yes, absolutely. I think we have a bent for, you know, just as a criteria, we have a bent, we lean towards individuals who are doers, who are not just about getting on the podium and saying, this is my vision for the future. They actually create it, and that's what we want.
I think it's awesome that you put together the speakers and you have all this mostly young people who are motivated and attend the TED Talk or the conferences. But how do you actually reach out to those who really need to, really need to be inspired? I mean, let's say the poor people in the Philippines, the children of the squatters area. They watch television shows, Telesera, and is there a way for Next Day Better to inspire them? I mean, you have to reach out to them because some of them may not even continue going to school. They're not motivated because their environment isn't giving them ways or not motivating them to say, okay, you have to do better. You have to pursue your dreams, you have to think about outside the box, and you yourself can make your own day better, not just for yourself and for other people. So how do you reach out to the actual people that really need help to make their next day better?
Right. I just want to reframe the question a little bit, because for me, when I think about the people in the Philippines, I think about them as individuals who have the agency to make the next day better for themselves and for their communities. And I think what Next Day Better does by creating these videos of these talks, it allows them to absorb this new information. It allows them to identify who they could potentially collaborate with. And not because this new media is available to them, they could access it. You'll be surprised by the level of internet penetration in the Philippines, that there is an internet cafe in the most random remote areas. Imagine them having this in their fingertips and what they could do with it.
They even have iPhones too. So
Absolutely. So yeah.
Yeah. So I actually, when I was researching you, I found a TED Talk. You were actually featured on TED.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's actually, it's really amazing. I was really honored to talk on TED about my first, I guess, social venture called eKindling. And what we did was we brought learning technologies and new ways of digital learning, like one laptop per child, to the Philippines. But that talk was not necessarily about that. That talk was about failing and how it hurts. And so just to let you know, one of my first attempts was with Pinoy Computer Clinics. This was after college, and actually during college, just correction. And what we did was we wanted to start a computer clinic in the Philippines, and we raised close to $10,000. We brought computers to this rural village where my family is from. But when we went there, what was really tough was that we found out that there was this kid who was recently kidnapped, and their eyes and organs were removed due to organ trafficking. And
That's
I was,
terrible.
yeah, it was absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
And I thought about that because what made that so problematic is we were an after-school activity, and the question became, how are we going to protect these kids as they come to our after-school program? And I didn't have an answer for that. What I wanted to do was have this computer, this magical technology to solve that educational problem, but we didn't even think about what was the educational program and how would the teachers use it to teach the kids to learn. We didn't have an answer. What I had
Wasn't there some kind of a feasibility study before you went into this project?
We had, but what the problem was intention, right? Our intention was to make a difference, but intention is never enough,
Yeah.
right?
True.
And what it is you have to be holistic about how you make a difference and how you introduce something to the community. But I didn't have the foresight of thinking about that. And we failed in my eyes because we did not think about those. And what
Well-
sucks about failing is that it hurts, it debilitates you, it stops you from acting, and for days on end, I was very depressed.
What happened to that project then?
That project is still going, is no longer happening. But I think what is really amazing, what inspires me about entrepreneur is this level of persistence and determination. I was put on this earth because I know for a fact that I'm desperate to make a difference and that I have to live a purpose-driven life, a meaningful life. And with that in my mind, I knew that I had to continue pushing forward. So with all the lessons learned, co-founded eKindling with remarkable social entrepreneurs from around
Yeah.
the world. And what we did again was to bring these learning technologies, like one laptop per child, develop a program, create community partnerships so that this program would flourish. And so during my time as the executive director, we piloted 100 laptops in 2 schools in remote rural island of the Philippines, providing connectivity, access to educational software, and now a team in the Philippines has taken the
Taken over.
project onwards, and I believe over 1,000 or so laptops have been deployed
Wow.
in remote islands of the Philippines.
awesome.
And so
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I am blessed to say that I was part of that experience and that I'm continuing to learn from that experience.
Are you full-time with NextDayBetter, or are you, do you have a job?
Yeah.
Or,
that's-
sorry, I mean,
Yeah.
sorry for being so too direct. What I meant is, you have NextDayBetter, but you're also working on the side.
Yeah. And that's part of me kind of just, again, living this purpose-driven life. And for me, I am doing NextDayBetter outside my work. I don't have the typical 9-to-5
Okay.
job. I do not believe in that. I believe in creating and being part of something that's meaningful, but will also put,
Yeah.
money in your pocket. So I'm also part of Feast on Good, which is another social enterprise tech startup that brings social innovators from around the world together. So I'm also doing that, but I'm also consulting and working with other promising nonprofits and social
Nonprofit,
enterprises realize its potential of making a difference in this world.
That's right.
I will be in this sector,
Okay.
and because I'm desperate to make a difference, and I'm at happiest
Making a
when
difference.
I'm making difference and where I'm at. So
Very
So
good.
I love that you say the term purpose-driven life. So how, actually, who has been your biggest mentor or the biggest influence to get you into this field in the first place?
I think the biggest motivation that I have is just thinking about what I have and why I was brought here in the first place. Because I just think about my family in the Philippines and the situation that they're particularly in, and I feel very humbled and very privileged by it. I also look at the homelessness that's here in New York City, and I think about, like, wow, we have so much wealth, but why does this exist? And so I can't personally and value-wise cannot just stand in the sidelines and not attempt to tackle those questions. And so seeing that motivates me. But I think you need a support network to flourish in this very tough world of being a social entrepreneur. And the way that I've tackled it is I have amazing individuals around me that supports my vision and what I want to do in my life, but also keeps me grounded and tells me, Ryan, you need to eat. As you do your change making work, you need to figure that out. And I use that fuel to continue moving forward. And I'm lucky. I'm absolutely lucky. I have a personal board of advisors that just helps me navigate my enterprises and helps me navigate my life so that I'm happy in all aspects.
Great.
What advice do you give other kids that that want to have an idea and make it bigger? Like you've had other things that you've done before, like the e-kindling that didn't, or the
Pinoy computer.
The Pinoy computer, and you had some failure, and some of them would just say, okay, I give up. I don't want to try another one. I just go to a regular 9-to-5 job, which is not you, just so that you could just go to the original average way.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with the average way, but some people, if you have this creativity in you, and sometimes you go through failures. I mean, you write a book, it get published, but you don't get millions of dollars, and then you go try another one. Do you stop? Do you move on? And what would you advise? Like 3 things that you would tell people, like to continue on or to give up? What would you say?
I really appreciate that question. One of the authors that I really appreciate, love, his name is Paulo Coelho, and I believe this is the quote. The quote is, "The secret to life is to fail 7 times, but to get up 8 times." And I think failure is what takes you to the next level and gives you the best life lessons. So for those who want to make a difference, I think one level is a level of persistence, and to find that in you, to continue pushing forward and to help realize your vision. The second is being practical about it, and being able to say that, hey, I also need to put food on the table, because that will fuel my dreams in life and my project. And I think those 2, is really, really powerful. But this is a journey. It doesn't stop here. And you continue to learn from it. And that's what I absolutely appreciate. And anyone who sees it in that way will be excited, slightly scared, but will absolutely grow from it.
How do you know if you talk about failure? What about success? How do you know that you have become successful and you have reached your goal? When do you stop?
When do I stop?
Or do you ever stop?
I don't think you ever stop, but I think it's important that we slow down and celebrate the wins that you have in your life. And I think I'm a very reflective person, and I think any entrepreneur, anyone who seeks to change the world, it's good to be reflective. Like, I remember this moment with e-kindling when I saw a child inside, there was these basketball court areas, which is the center of the town in remote islands in the Philippines, and I saw him kind of just playing with the laptop, and was learning how to code on his own. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is impact. That happened because I was part of this. Or I see, at a NextDayBetter event, an audience who's listening to Alex Caballero, who is one of the most well-known architects, and who has an architecture firm here in New York City. I see an audience just say, oh my gosh, I can't believe he got to that level. And this is incredible. I really want to speak to him. And I could always just say yes, that's I was part of that. That helped make that connection. And
well, Ryan, I want to just ask you before we end the segment is, how do you make the next day better?
I make the next day better by absolutely following my passion in creating something that will be meaningful, product and service-wise, that will make a difference for this world, being desperate about it. And
that word again.
Yes. And that's how I make the next day better.
Okay. Well, please tell us how we can contact you so we can
absolutely.
find out more.
My email address is ryan@nextdaybetter.com. Check our website out, nextdaybetter.com, of course. And we have an event September 14th here in New York City featuring incredible people, and events in LA as well. And so Thanks so much.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. And also, you could follow us at MakilalaTV, and you can actually tweet and hashtag NextDayBetter, so you can share how you make the next day better. So let's go around the room. Tell us, Christina, how do you make the next day better?
Oh, I'm a community journalist, so I probably will just be continuing what I do, what I've been doing all these years. I will just be writing about the extraordinary people and the regular folks in our community for my blog, the philam.net.
Love it. And Jen, how do you?
Aside from making sure that I smile every morning and tend to my 4 children, I volunteer for the Filipino American Legal Defense and Education Fund. They provide free legal services, and they focus on immigration, labor trafficking, and voting rights.
Great. And Maria, how do you make the next day better?
I think I'm just going to be continuing to connect people to resources and services that'll help them. That's kind of. What about you?
Thank you for asking. How do I make the next day better? I am actually part of an organization called UNIPRO, which stands for Filipino American Unity for Progress. And what we do is create a more cohesive community in the New York metropolitan area. And yeah. So just to close it up, I just wanted to thank our viewers for joining us, and to join us again for our next show, where we will be featuring Miss Radora Usua from Kalusugan Coalition. And we're going to be talking about health and fitness and their most current project called Play Street. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.